As we have discussed in part 1 of this PHP web development tutorial, the scope of a variable refers to where in a script a variable will be available for use. In PHP there are 3 variable scopes, namely global scope, function scope, and class scope. Global scope means that a variable is available to all parts of a script, and the function scope says that a variable declared within a function will only be available for use within that function. This is so that you can use variables in a function without having to worry about accidentally reusing a variable used in other parts of your script. Class scope has to do with objects in PHP and will be dealt with in another tutorial. Let's have a look at a practical example to better illustrate global scope and function scope. In this example, we are going to declare a variable and a function in order to illustrate the difference between function scope and global scope. So we'll start off with our opening and closing PHP tags. We'll then declare a variable. We'll just declare the string hello. Then we need to define our function. We'll just call the function call variable. We aren't going to pass any arguments, so the parentheses stay empty. Then our opening and closing curly brace. Then all that this function is going to do is it's going to return the value of x, assuming of course that it has access to the variable, seeing as the variable has been defined outside of the function. Then we'll use a simple if-else statement. So the if-else statement is going to check whether the function call variable is returning anything. If it is, then it's going to give us the value of x, and if it's not returning a value, it's going to output the string the global scope has not been defined. So you'll remember from the PHP web development tutorial part 1, the exclamation mark operator negates the value of a variable. So in other words, it is the not operator. So we are saying that if call variable is not equal to null, null being the data type that shows us that a variable has no value. So if call variable does not have no value, in other words, it does have a value, we'll echo onto the screen the value of x is variable x. Else, if the value returned by the function call variable is empty, we need to say global scope not defined. Alright, so let's hit save. Let's go to our browser. We'll refresh. And then it outputs global scope is not defined. So if we go back to our code, the reason why it output global scope is not defined is because it received a value from the call variable function that was equal to null. So in other words, it did not have a value. So this means that the function did not have access to the variable x that was defined outside of the function. This is function scope. This says that the scope of a variable is only available from within a function. So a variable declared within a function is available within that function and only within that function. It's not available outside. And then also vice versa. If a variable is declared outside of a function, it is also not available within the function. So how do we get this variable? How do we make this variable available inside the function? We'll use what is called the global statement. This then makes the value of that variable global to the function. This is global scope. So now we would expect the function call variable to return a value, and our if statement says that if it does return a value, if the function does return a value, it will then echo the statement the value of x is, and then display the value of x. So let's hit save, Go to our browser, hit refresh, and there we go. The value of x is hello. We'll go back to our code to check. We'll see that previously we defined the value of x to be the string hello, and because our function now has access to the variable x by means of the global statement, it is now able to output the value of the variable x.